back, you're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet, and a boost to the Indian middle class. The Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman an exempted annual income of up to rupees 12 lakh from the income tax and rejigged the tax slabs. As per the rejig, there will be nil tax for an income up to 4 lakhs, 5% for income between rupees 4 and 8 lakhs, 10% for rupees 8 to 12 lakhs, and 15% for rupees 12 to 16 lakhs. A 20% income tax will be levied on income between rupees 16 and 20 lakh, and 25% on rupees 20 to 24 lakh, and 30% above 24 lakh per annum. The Union Budget 2025 has introduced a series of indirect tax measures aimed at strengthening domestic manufacturing and enhancing value addition across key sectors too. Let's take a comprehensive look at the announcements pertaining to the taxation. I'm going to go to the big screen and try, in fact, tell you in a nutshell what exactly Budget 2025 was all about. What were the changes in the income tax slabs, as mentioned earlier, of income up to rupees 4 lakh. Before it was 5% and now it stands at nil. Up to rupees 8 lakhs, earlier it was 10%. It's been slashed to 5%. This is of course a bonanza for the middle class. Up to rupees 12 lakh, 15% was what was there before, and 10% is what will come now, and of course 80,000 of savings along with that. Up to rupees 15 lakh, the income tax was 20% and now it's brought down to 15%. Similarly, if it was 20 lakhs, it was 30% earlier. A 10% slash makes it 20%. If it was 24 lakhs, which is technically considered a high income bracket, you're looking at the upper middle class here, it was 30%. Now they have also been given a relief of 5%, bringing it down to 25%, and above 24 lakh rupees, it remains the same. So if you're making 2 lakh rupees a month, your income tax slabs have not changed. This is of course a very populist measure which was expected since a very long time from the Modi government. This is Modi 3.0. So obviously the populist budget that was expected last year during the Lok Sabha elections has been forthcoming in this budget. The income tax exemption has increased over the years, and that has been in fact the one consistent demand by economists, the middle class, and of course the purveyors and surveyors of the economy alike. In 2005, this value was at 1 lakh, going to 2 lakh. Of course, between 2005 and 2012, there was in fact a stalemate there. This value in fact did not rise up in 2012. The last few years of the UPA, it went to 2 lakh. As soon as the Modi government came, perhaps in 2014, there were changes in this slab, and then again in 2019, this was taken to 5 lakhs. In 2023, it was 7 lakhs, and in 2025, in just a couple of years, in a couple of budgets, this has almost doubled now to 12 lakhs, which is of course laudable. It is commendable. There will be more money in the pockets of people, so that means there is an intention to boost consumption. And the top 10 indirect tax announcements that Nirmala Sitharaman has also made: 7 tariff rates that have been removed on exports, which is of course a very welcome sign. This was on the cards since a very long time. BCD exemptions have been extended to cobalt, powder, LED, lithium, zinc. Some of these minerals are very important in making some of the modern amenities that we consume and use on a daily basis. Proposal to add 2 additional shuttle-less looms is also something which is being lauded. Customs duty waived for 36 life-saving medicines for cancer. Now, this was a demand which was being made by patients, doctors, institutes, and human rights workers since a very long time. Life-saving drugs to get tax concession as well. Of course, the affordability factor has been kept in mind over here. So overall, this budget has focused on the socio-economic challenges that were faced by the lower middle class and the middle class, and accordingly, this is the 5th indirect tax announcement that is likely to benefit a section of people who have been struggling with high expenses, especially when it comes to medicine. Customs duty cut for lithium ion batteries. Of course, India and its green projection and green trajectory towards having battery cars is also something that has been kept in mind. The BCD has been waived off from knitted fabrics as well. So of course, this is keeping in mind that we definitely want to make India a hub of not only manufacturing but exports as well. The indirect taxes, of course, on Interactive panel display have also been reduced. So once again, this is pointing towards a consumption-driven economical boost. On carrier grade Ethernet switches as well, this is something that India has been importing from a number of countries including China. So this also gets a fillip. Fully exemption of customs on wet blue leather as well. A rare commodity, in fact, had a very high tax, has been taken care of to in fact increase consumption as well as make sure that India as an economy continues to grow, and the factors that make up for that 5 trillion factor that this government has been trying to drive home since a very long time has been achieved. Let's talk about this with our guests. Joining us on the show at this point in time is Mr. Kalyan Chakravarti, CEO of Emaar India. Mr. Alok Mehta, Editorial Director of India News, also with us on the show. Vivek Banka, co-founder of Gold Teller, joins us on the broadcast as well. G. Hari Babu, National President of Naratco, with us on the show as well. Major General Rajesh Kumar, former DG, Military Engineering Services, joins us on the show as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. Mr. Chakravarti, I'll begin with you, sir. I hope you can hear me. Mr. Kalyan Chakravarti, I hope you can hear me, sir.
I can. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. So appreciate you joining us. So
are you able to hear me?
Absolutely,
I can hear you.
So your
okay,
initial
great.
reactions to this budget, would you hail it as a populist budget, or do you think there are traces of a lot of factors that have been put in to make it a holistic budget?
So I think 2-3 points. One, I don't think it at all to be a populist budget. It of course has elements of things which may be called as populism, but I do see a trend over the last several years, and it is stitching together nicely to a larger vision that the government seems to be chasing. The dream of Vikshit Bharat, the need to take care of the disadvantaged sections of the society to create some competitive advantage for us as a nation, whether it is startup technology, rationalization of personal income taxes, bringing more money to the pockets of the people. So there are multiple things that I see which look strategic to me. Rejuvenation in the urban areas and all of that stuff as well. To me, what is important with the government is to see that there is a consistency to the larger thought process, and there is a theme which is kind of getting bettered on year after year. That is the only way we can get better over a decade or so. So to me, continues to be a great budget on the back of several budgets that I have now seen. So pretty happy.
All right, Vivek Banka, I'm going to rope you in now. What do you make of this budget? This is obviously very important when it comes to the personal finance and consumption of Indian economy.
Yeah, thanks, Vineet, for having me. So, yeah, I think on the face of it looks very promising. The fact that the government has addressed the big elephant in the room, which is the ebbing of consumption demand over the last 2-3 quarters. So, with this tax slab increases and the money coming in the pockets of individuals, I think that should spur consumption shortly over the next few quarters. Of course, I remain a little skeptical because in the past, the finance minister has put a lot of things in the fine print. So I hope this time around it's not the same. Plus, of course, the detailed income tax, the new income tax regime, direct tax code, or whatever you might call it, should be announced next week. So that's something which we need to also see what that is all about. But prima facie, I think a very interesting budget. The post-pandemic demand, which was ebbing, as I said, over the last 2-3 quarters, should rebound back with these tax measures. Unlike a lot of economists who say that it will take a few quarters, my own personal opinion is that this does a lot of sentiment boost. So spending should start immediately over the next 1 or 2 quarters itself. So the lag period of that translating into economic activity will be faster than a lot of people expect. On the personal finance side, a lot of TDS exemptions limits have been increased, so that is also very helpful, especially for senior citizens. The bank account interest, which was 50,000 and more TDS, now it's brought up to 1 lakh, so that is very helpful. All in all, a very good budget. The only thing which I'm worried about is how will the government manage the fiscal deficit despite this 1 lakh crore dole out to the middle class. That's something that we need to see. But all in all, very positive and very happy that finally what was being expected by the middle class is finally, bearing fruit.
All right. Okay. I'm going to go back to Mr. Kalyan Chakravarti as well. Mr. Chakravarti, the government has also hiked the MSME investment and the turnover projections in this union budget. This is obviously in tune with the confidence they want to infuse in the MSME sector. What did you make of that, sir?
Again, I wish the limits were increased even more than what they have been. I think this is a sector of the economy which needs to be boosted up. Tomorrow's large corporations will stem out of some of these MSMEs, which will turn out to be global leaders over a period of time. I think MSME ecosystem is something we need to bet on as a nation and encourage them far more. Of course, the investment and revenue thresholds have been increased, but I would have loved to see a much larger increase in those thresholds. Uh, it's a good start. I hope they continue this theme going forward as well, and over a period of time, larger investments are attracted and larger revenue thresholds are also given, so that companies can continue to enjoy the benefits of being an MSME for a little longer. It is important to give them strength and stamina.
So the government is also, in fact, increasing FDI limits when it comes to the insurance sector. It's innovating. It's basically investing in IITs as well. The infrastructure boost for 5 more IITs is also on the cards. A modified Udan scheme will also be launched. Do you think that this budget has definitely accelerated that run up, or rather that race to that 5 trillion mark?
So I think 5 trillion is just a milestone. So yes, it is something which will make all of our cumulative hearts, bloat and make us all gladden us to no end. But the fundamentals which are being put in place is for the long run. 5 trillion will come and go, and then we will be keeping on changing 7, 10, and we are destined for bigger and better things. But definitely, yes, 5 trillion I think is definitely happening pretty soon. One thing which probably going out of syllabus and not attacking your question immediately is what I saw as the incremental seats addition in the medical colleges. India needs it. The rural India needs it. Healthcare, cancer hospitals getting created and all of that is, I think, terrific. Capacity building in health, capacity building in education, capacity building in housing, roti kapda makan and all of that things being taken very seriously, and serious amount of money is being put there. I love the vision. Like Vivek said a little earlier, I think the fine print dictates how well the vision translates into reality, but I feel good about the vision by itself.
Okay. All right. Let me also rope in G. Hari Babu into this conversation. G. Hari Babu, are you there with us? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
All right. Your initial impression of this budget. This is, perhaps a speech which is in tune with what Nirmala Sitharaman has always focused on. 2024, a lot of people felt that the budget left out the middle class and the lower middle class and the general sector when it comes to MSMEs in general. Do you think it's been made up for now?
Yeah, actually, middle class definitely is taken care of by increasing the tax brackets from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs, definitely. But lower middle income group who doesn't have any tax brackets or anything, their concerns are not answered. That means everybody is not the taxpayer in India. You know very well, only 7 crore people are the taxpayers. So if you look at the between 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs, the exemption people must be around 2.5 crores. So all of us are making more noise about this 2.5 crores people, but we are not making any noise about the lower middle income group who are drawing the salaries of under 7 lakhs. So under 7 lakhs people, what is that they got the benefit? So far is zero. And indirectly also, I didn't see any great things given to them. So, okay, that is the negative side of the budget. Positive side, definitely energy and environment. First time in India, we are talking about the nuclear power. So we stopped the nuclear power several years back, even though the nuclear power gives environmental friendly, but somehow some decisions were taken, no nuclear power. But now 100 gigawatts nuclear power is going to be installed by 2047, which makes today our environmental problem is mainly because of the coal burning of the for power generation. We are almost making 720 grams of carbon by every kilowatt hour. Whereas comparatively France is only 78 grams against kilowatt hour. That is because of nuclear power. So now we are talking about today, everybody is talking about global warming and all these things. So this may be a revolutionary change in this budget, that 100 gigawatts of power through nuclear. That is the great this thing. And of course, increase of the 7.5% is the expected growth. If it is reachable, that is also another great advantage. As far as our real estate concerned, I think there is not even one talk about the real estate or urban this thing. Only one Swami funds is another 15,000 crores got allotted, and that is makes about 50,000 units may come from non-performing asset to performing asset. So these are the main highlights according to me.
All right, fair enough. Major General Brajesh Kumar is also with us on the show. General Kumar, are you there with us?
Yep.
All right, sir. Are you content with the attention and the allocation given to defense in this budget?
Thank you, Vineet, for having me with you here on the show. See, there are two aspects of the defense and budget is concerned. Like before a budget, there's the economic survey, the round the year performance, which is taken into account. Based on deficiencies and speed you want to give it to, a budget is formulated. In a similar manner, getting to know about our perceptible threats in the near future, in the distant future, we plan accordingly. As far as India is concerned, we had two legacy issues with our northern border and with our western border. We have a very wide variety of international borders. One is called IB, the second is called LOC, the third is AGPA, like it's the Siachen, the fourth is LAC. Now they are not settled, and therefore there is a call for concern as far as security is concerned on the land side. Lately, we have another uncomfortable equation with our eastern neighbor. So all these add to a kind of a military threat from the land border. In addition, we have a vast network, southern area of Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, or we call it India-Pacific, space and air. Now, if we take all this into account and we want to play our role in the comity of global nation, global power, it has to be backed up by military strength. Very old wisdom from Chanakya days. Strong military and economy are two sides of the same coin. So under this backdrop, when we analyze our defense, or when we talk about our defense apparatus, it is something like this. We remain the fourth largest military might in the world after US, China, Russia. Our defense expenditure is pretty huge, but more importantly, we are the largest importer of arms, ammunition, and munition system for decades now. That's what SIPRI tells us, the most authentic open source information. So under this kind of environment, and looking ahead to be a power, to be maybe say a third global or fourth global economy in times to come, we need a fair amount of strong muscle as far as defense services, security issues are concerned. Now, overall, we have been spending to the tune of 1.9 to 2% of the GDP on defense. Is that adequate? Is the big question. In all circles, we've been talking about it. Indian, or our case, the defense budget has seldom crossed beyond the threshold of 1.8 to 2.2% of the GDP except long time back when we had the trouble in our borders or whatever. So in this kind of environment where sub 2% GDP, to my mind, is actually little. But then obviously there are ways and means that you overcome this, possibly by diplomacy or reliance with friends and whatever. I'm sure the defense is concerned, this aspect will be taken into account. Coming more to the specifics, so the defense budget has gone up in certain terms from 621,000 crore to 6,80,000 crore. It looks substantial. Well, it is substantial. But look into deeper aspects of it. Our revenue expenditure in terms of pay, allowances, still higher than the capex expenditure. Our capex expenditure has also gone up slightly, from 1,72,000 crores to 1,80,000 crores.
All right, sir.
If you look at it in the dollar terms, it may be very little. So the issue is today we are in the same process of moving ahead. The fact that the finance minister did not have a paragraph on defense expenditure today speaks that people in power are pretty happy about the state.
Okay, all right.
But
Let me also rope in Mr. Alok Mehta into this conversation. Mr. Mehta, the Prime Minister obviously hailed the budget, said this is a people's budget, is going to boost savings and investment. And he also said that this budget highlights the government's commitment when it comes to dignity of labor as well as longevity of life and career of a laborer.
I think Vinit ji, Prime Minister vision is for superpower India in 2047. And I think this budget is going in this same direction. Because, we are not talking about the agriculture sector, education sector, health sector. These all are for the defense of country, because I just wanted to continue what General Saab telling us. What we are feeling, you are feeling that we have nuclear power. So it's not threat what it used to be in 62 or 71. Certainly, we need defense production. So more emphasis on more production in defense sector. So ultimately it will help. Then the FDI will also come. Insurance sector, if money will come. And then if you have educated, healthy India, then it will be easy even for the army. Anytime we need more people, our people will be more strong. Our army will be more strong. Certainly there are new schemes also. I think we are not discussing here. But I think this vision for the nuclear energy, you see, for example, long term, for short term solar energy also we are spending a lot. In this budget also there are provision. So I think that this kind of budget is looking up, we are talking since the morning, everybody talking about the middle class. Certainly when middle class will get money, then they will spend for the poor also. Somebody is selling vegetables, doing something on rickshaw. So people will spend on those poor people also. And then the purchasing power. If you have purchasing power, all over the world it's proved that if you have purchasing power, then you can help the whole economy. I think this is the reason. That's why from Bihar, Makhana, I was in Bihar editor for 3 years, long back and 30 years back. But you see now the makhana all over the world, you can just export if you increase the production of a makhana in poor state like Bihar. So we need good airport, we need good infrastructure. That's why the more expenditure infrastructure also. I feel that this kind of budget is a balancing with middle class, agriculture people, labor. Then certainly there is no relief, major relief for corporate world. I can understand that. But maybe because of this, corporate world also have a lot of earlier the concessions and the rebate in the export, import, investments. So I think the world market is available for India. Corporate world also going to, even the textile mill they are opening in the Vietnam. Now they can spend in India and they get more relief for exporting the textile from India. That's why I feel Bangladesh now challenging us earlier, but now we have a good opportunity even for export in textile. So these kind of new ideas promotion for superpower India in future in health sector. You know the Ayushman Bharat or the other scheme. How you will implement it? If you have good medical centers, medical colleges, engineering college, then you will have a good doctors. Otherwise, there is no use of hospitals. You just build a hospital alone. So now the seats are increased in medical centers, medical colleges, universities. It will ultimately help to strengthen the country and economy and the society itself.
All right. Okay, Vivek. There is obviously an emphasis here. There is a roadmap here that infrastructure, tax relief, and sectoral reforms are a priority for the government. At the same time, we already know what the tax base of our country is. There is still, regardless of that tax base, there is still a focus of not harassing the taxpayer into living in any fear, and encouraging the practice of paying tax as a normal participation in nation growth. Do you think that is a commendable aspect of every budget that this government has presented?
Yes, yes, absolutely. If you see the steps in this budget also, right from the fact that correction in IT returns, the time period has moved up from 2 years to 5 years, to 4 years. Plus, secondly, as I said earlier also, the TDS increases, especially for the senior citizens, and a host of other measures which we see on ground in terms of the refunds being processed faster, and a bunch of other things. I think things have become much better from a consumer perspective in terms of filing the IT returns. The current move of the higher, the exemption also, I think will help. Just to clarify here for everyone's benefit is that it does not mean that you do not have to file a tax. Even if you are 4 lakhs and above, you got to file taxes, but you get an exemption. So the ambit will come, and my belief is this is a way by the government to slowly get more and more people into the ambit of the tax payer community, and sooner or later, at some point in time, they will pull the plug away from these exemptions. But yeah, I think best is to make hay while the sun shines, which I think should be for the next few years at least.
All right, fair enough. Mr. Adil Shetty, FICCI FinTech Committee and co-founder and CEO of bankbazaar.com, is also joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Shetty, appreciate you being here. I hope you can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, sir. How would you summarize this budget? Looking at the exemptions and the relief from 5 to 12 lakhs, for the taxpayer, it is pretty out there that this is a populist budget. This is a budget that is driving the common man to spend more. It is driving consumption. It is driving the middle class, to in fact expect more and earn more.
Yeah, so like you rightly called out, right, for someone earning 25 lakhs per year, this is giving 1.1 lakhs extra cash in their pocket. It's equivalent to almost giving a 5% increment to someone making 25 lakhs a year. And I think getting more money in consumer hands was the ask of the entire middle class, the industry. And what happened today, we thought one of three things would happen. We thought maybe the slabs would go up because of inflation adjustment. We thought that maybe the rates would come down. We thought that the rebate would increase, but all three happened. So I think that was definitely good news for the middle class. As far as MSMEs went, I thought something really interesting happened there, because the credit guarantee scheme, which till now was 5 crores, has now gone to 10 crores. So that essentially means MSMEs starting April 1st potentially have access to their banks giving them 5 crores extra under a government guarantee. And the finance minister has projected that 1.5 lakh crores in additional MSME debt will go out because of this move. From the startup and the fintech side, she said that the first 10 lakh crore fund got deployed via domestic venture capital firms, and 97 lakh crores went out as equity investment in the market. Now she's started a second fund of funds and again put in 10 lakh crores. So if that gets a 10x multiplier and domestic venture capital puts out another 1 lakh crores of equity in the market, I think startups and fintechs are going to benefit. So I like to see, I like the fact the middle class did well today. This was a sector that was clamoring for help. And I think the MSMEs are going to appreciate 5 crores more. That's a lot of money, 1.5 lakh crores. And if that equity can reach the startups quickly, right, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in cutting edge areas like AI, right? And India can become a knowledge leader in the world.
Right, and do you also, feel that the government, along with the conventional modes of pushing the economy to the next level is also keeping, the digital revolution and evolution in mind?
No, I think so, right? The RBI put out a report saying in 2025, a fifth or 20% of GDP is today digital. We talk about MSMEs, but today, right, I think we have tech MSMEs in India with the change in classification, up to 500 crores, and you qualify as an MSME. So startups are MSMEs too. The government really, I think, should continue to invest in digital infra in the same way it invests in physical infra. So last year, right, FM spoke it's about DigiLocker. DigiLocker is a very powerful tech. 200 million Indians, right, have their PAN card, their driver's license, their university certificates. We're saying they should upgrade this even to Form 26AS, TDS statements, EPFO. But DigiLocker got a big push in last year's budget. This year, she spoke about a digital infra called CKYC. She said they're going to revamp CKYC. It's going to be faster. It's going to be better. Now, CKYC is the foundation for KYC in India. It's used as part of the video KYC process. If we can build new digital infra, even for artificial intelligence, right? India has an incredible amount of data. Maybe with a digital public infra for AI, with anonymized, secure, consent-driven data, we can overtake what China is doing in AI. I know this is all, going to take 5-10 years, but digital public infra, I think, needs to be spoken in the same voice as physical infra. If we're saying we're putting in 11.11 lakh crores in physical infra, I think the day is not far, right, that we'll be saying that we put in 1 lakh crores in digital infra because that's the new information highway.
All right, fair enough. This is obviously healing the budget, and this is obviously understanding that the government on its own cannot do anything when it comes to the economy, Mr. Shetty, and that they need the help of the people. They need the people to spend, to take us to the next level. What did you make of the exemptions, from 5 lakh to 12 lakhs? Is that something, which is going to be a game changer?
I think it's going to give more money in people's hands. And I think that urban consumption was slowing down. So what's essentially happened, right, is 7 has gone to 12 in terms of zero tax. But if you add standard deduction to that, 7.75, which is what it was in the new regime as it operates today. And by the way, 72% of Indians filed in the new regime. I think with this change, maybe that number will go to 90%. But now that 7.75 zero tax level has gone to 12.75 lakhs. But keep in mind, right, even someone earning 15 lakhs is paying 35,000 less tax next year. Someone earning 20 lakhs is paying 1 lakh less tax next year. Someone earning 25 lakhs is paying 1.1 lakhs in less tax. So essentially for someone at 2 lakhs per year income, they're giving you 5% more cash in your pocket. And you can choose to invest, you can choose to spend. And one interesting ask, right? I think FM has done more than enough for the middle class this year. But one ask we would have for next year and the year after that is that when the exemptions went away, people are putting less money in ELSS mutual fund. People, have lowered, we do a Bank Bazaar aspiration index. Less people are thinking about term life insurance. So one thing we're going to ask her, right, is start creating a very simplified exemption scheme in the new tax regime. So let's not do a little bit for health insurance, a little bit for life insurance, a little bit for ELSS, but let's combine everything and say 30% of your gross income up to 15 lakh. If you invest in ELSS, you take medical insurance, you take term life insurance, you do NPS, just give us one simplified exemption, right? Because people need to invest, people need to save, and that shouldn't go away in the new regime.
Okay. Mr. Haribabu, there has also been an impetus and a focus towards Make in India, especially when it comes to electronics. Duties have been slashed when it comes to certain components. The finance minister peculiarly and particularly mentioned, perhaps keeping China in mind, that India needs to be the next manufacturing hub. And this is obviously, great, keeping in mind that the place where China is today at 16 to 17 trillion dollars of an economy is because of its manufacturing prowess.
Yes, sir. Coming to the manufacturing sector, our capacities utilization is worldwide is only 50%. Somehow we are very, very behind for China or USA or European countries. Our capacity utilization has to go up to standard of 100% compared to the other thing. See, somehow where by the labor loss or financial problems or some other problems, all those things making we have the enough capacities, but underutilization is the major problem in our country. That is number one. Number two, the cottage industry. See, we have a lot of almost 60% still in the rural area. We are not focused on the cottage industry. Cottage industry, once it is focused, and the main industry will be in the urban and the cottage industries will be rural. The rural migration to urban will also reduce, and rural labor will get the better money, better financial system, and they can do it. But somehow, last 20 years, I would say, everybody is trying to migrate to only urban, not to the stay in the rural at all, because the job opportunities or the agro-based industry jobs or any other industries also now focus only in the urban. Why not they focus on the rural industry? Because our labor is so cheap compared to everywhere in the world. Even today, our rural employment cost is only 400 rupees to 500 rupees per day. That is 25 days into 400 rupees, 8,000, nothing. Actually, compared to anywhere in the world. Still having the so much cheaper labor, we are unable to take the benefit from those people. So the large industries, electronic industries, and the defense industries are doing fantastic. Defense exports also gone up. But what happened to the cottage industry and rural industry? Rural industry practically, more or less, it is actually killed. So what we have to do is we have to develop some cottage industries across the India and make the use of the untapped labor force of the rural.
Vivek, there has also been a cry for help when it comes to a lot of these mom and pop stores, neighborhood stores, who have more or less dismissed the concept of online delivery. And it is a voice, it is a concern which is gaining resonance on a regular level. Do you think that the government needs to in fact keep such focus and such granularities in mind as well? After all, these mom and pop stores do contribute to the economy. They do facilitate consumption, and at the same time, let's also not forget that they are a part of that larger MSME gambit.
Yeah, I think one element which I think the government needs to do is to proclaim and communicate the benefits of the ONDC network. For some reason, a lot of people, both in primarily in urban areas, are not aware of this entire network of ONDC where you can buy things from a mom and pop shop. Unfortunately, communication by the government on this specific area has been very, very low. Having said that, people who do use it have been greatly benefited by this. And I think, very simple, short answer is that communication on how to use this is something which will, make or break this entire ecosystem.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let me also once again rope in Mr. Alok Mehta into this conversation. Mr. Mehta, do you think that rural development is something that the government needs to track? There is obviously impetus towards facilitating the farmer as well. If you look at the farmer credit card limit, that has also been revised. But still, we continue to hear the woes and concerns of the farmers. Do you think that there has to be more focus, perhaps not governmental, maybe private focus, and the government helping these private companies to uplift the farming sector?
Yeah, you are very right. And rural India, especially for the farmers, I think that's why the earlier the Kisan laws, they have to just withdraw it. But ultimately, now you see, announcement is also there that the government agencies, they will have some cooperation for these pulses and all the productions, and then the food processing plants in the rural area. What we are talking about the rural industries, I think the problem was still there because the roads, we can make highways and all from the central government, but for the rural areas, the state government are also responsible for that. So more coordination between central and state resources, because I recently there was some exhibition from handicrafts from Odisha and other states. You see the very good products were there, but it's very difficult to reach those areas, and they are also communication is difficult. That's why even if you have a small industries or the handicraft in the rural area, ultimately the problem will be the transportation, communication, digital. Even then, digital, it's not easy. We are just talking the digital revolution, but difficult. If you say order here, you can order something from Gurgaon, you will get next half an hour, 1 hour. But there it is difficult even some time to connect those rural areas. That's why I think you are very right. For farmers, but if they have the production, but ultimately to reach to the market, that's why the Prime Minister wanted all the time, or still they are trying, that somebody should be there to purchase or make the food processing plants. That's why in last budget also they provided, here are in Bihar and other states also, we want more food processing plants should be there, or somebody should go, the cooperative movement, Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister also have the cooperative minister. So what they are encouraging, again the cooperative movement, what we used to see in 60s earlier days, at the time it was a social system. But now in modern economy also, the cooperative movement, what is successful in Maharashtra and Gujarat and South India, ultimately these cooperative societies, they are going to help the farmers. So indirectly, you see the problem is the big farmers agitation, they stop even the more, you have a warehouse. Ultimately, the big houses, either the government constructs for FCI also, you see, we always report that, this damage, wheat were damaged because of the warehouses. So now we need more warehouses from private sector, more infrastructure from private sector, because they can go there. The number of, even after the Kisan laws withdrew, but even then now the ITC or Reliance, they are going to the field and they are purchasing from there itself. So it benefit to the indirectly to the Kisan farmers. But the political agenda is, okay, you just cry and say, okay, they should also give some relief. Only the loan is not the solution. I think still there are some credit card. Now in this budget also, they announced the 5 lakhs credit card for the Kisans also. It will help them when even the crisis in the flood or in a drought situation.
All right, sir.
We have to help the farmers, and that type of schemes, cooperative movement and the private sector can also help for the rural economy.
Absolutely, sir. Valid point there. Brilliant point there. And also joining us on the show at this point in time is Mr. Maninder Singh Hira, Chief Corporate Officer for Binds Consulting. Maninder, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. What was the highlight for you and, particularly your business out of this budget speech that we just heard a few hours ago? You're a part of, the Global Capability Center ecosystem. Has that been facilitated by this budget?
So thank you so much, Vineet, first of all, for having me on the show. I would start with saying that it was a very smart budget, smart government, very smart finance minister. And I would say that they have been able to manage the perception this time really well. So to begin with, I think we should definitely congratulate them for this achievement. And, fiscal deficit from 4.8 to 4.4 is not a small deal. It's a big achievement. And I think it's a time to say thank you for their efforts. And at the same time, we wish that they're able to swiftly implement the recommendations so that the real benefits can be seen. Now, in terms of our businesses, we are in the GCC ecosystem. We run GCC for for a foreign firm. And we were hoping for relief. We were hoping for some changes in the policies and relaxations in the schemes. And in fact, the government has taken that as an opportunity, uh, especially an opportunity to create the framework around GCCs. So if you see the ecosystem, Vineet, GCCs have grown without much support irrespectively. We have 1,500 plus GCCs, directly, indirectly employing about 10 million plus people. It hasn't received the focus from the government so far, but there is enough capability that exists which can be leveraged. So the amendment in policies like front transfer pricing and the safe harbor policies, etc., this is going to definitely boost the GCC ecosystem, eventually, obviously, create a lot of jobs indirectly, and would help the government to collect direct and indirect taxes. Because one of the worry I think the economists would have is, while we have looked at the recommendations, they have relaxed the tax slabs, the collection would reduce, the reliance is on how does the consumption grow so that it can be, balanced out. But yeah, some of these initiatives like the boost to GCC is going to contribute to it. The only other thing I think the government has to kind of be careful about is, see, the consumption was low for a very long time. Savings were being consumed, so that was also depleting. Now the mindset needs to change from saving to consumption, or spending less to actually spending more, and how that can happen and not move towards start saving towards future requirements. And I think the interest rate needs to be looked at. I think that's one thing the government has to do. But overall, from a sector perspective, I think some of these changes, and especially also on the startup side, there have been a focus. So extension like 80 ISC tax exemptions, and light touch regulatory compliances, trust-based compliances. These are a boost to companies like us and the overall GCC model and the startup ecosystem. I would say that's a good move, and it's much appreciated by the entrepreneurs.
Right, but Ninder, also reflect on the tax slabs and this massive revision. How is that likely to change things?
See, this was one of the biggest move, or the highlight of of this. Uh, no tax for 12 lakh, which means you have people with more than 25 lakhs of income, you have more than a lakh of additional disposable income. It is going to drive consumption. That's what the intent is. And as you would look at it in a different perspective, it's like you're getting a 5% equivalent of increment without doing anything. So that's a positive sign. And if I talk about as an individual, it's more than welcome. The only thing that we would want to kind of still assess, because the fine prints are yet to be reviewed, is has it made the new tax regime more attractive over the old tax regime, especially for the people who stay in rental accommodations and avail the HRA benefits. I think that's something that I'm yet to kind of review upon. But overall, I think it's a wonderful move, and much welcome by even the individual taxpayers.
But in the valid points there, obviously this is great news from a holistic point of view when it comes to the budget and boosting spending, because that exactly is what defines a consumer economy. Major General Brajesh Kumar also still with us on the broadcast. General Kumar, sir, are you there with us?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Well, there is also a mention that defense spending, as compared to what it was perhaps, during the UP era, or even for that matter, during the Vajpayee era, has gone through this significant shift, this whirlwind of transformation, and that's basically a result of the Make in India initiative. We, from becoming a net importer of defense equipment, we are an exporter now. If you talk about the Philippines, you talk about Indonesia, even if you talk about, some European countries now, all of them have reflected interest in buying from India. In concomitants to the tax slabs that have been relaxed for the common man, how is this likely to make a huge difference when it comes to the money that the exchequer gets to collect?
The point of Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat is so very crucial to defense that it cannot be overemphasized. The recent foray into exporting a portion of it, a bit of it, a very fraction of it, is something very, very healthy. But let's look at the bigger picture. We have been the largest importer of munition systems, arms, guns, aircraft, and ships for decades now. And as I said earlier, we're the fourth largest defense machine, or military machine in the world. The shift is palpable. Our dependence on Soviet-era equipment was to the tune of 85-90% about a couple of decades back. We've been trying to wean away from that by getting more diversifying our imports from France, USA, as well as Israel. Now that diversification has helped our dependence on Russia to reduce to about 60-65%. But that's not good enough. And mind you, defense production of munition system, be it warships, submarines, aircraft, takes decades. Couple of decades is the gestation period, which huge amount of resources are pumped into. This is a slow and deliberate process. We are in that path, but it takes a while before we can be substantive. But our efforts to make Atmanirbhar Bharat have been successful in a very modest manner. If we have been able to export, armament worth 30-odd thousand crores last year, though the lower end of the spectrum, it's a good thing. It's a good thing from two ways. Earlier, I remember we were very cagey about even, exporting small arms, ammunition, small little rockets, etc., motors to our neighboring countries. So we were very considerate. We've changed a lot. But with regards to our production of armaments, our manufacturing sector in the defense, and Atmanirbhar, well, let's wait for 2047. We are way off, actually. Let me be blunt about it. Now, correlate with this, there are two other aspects. A is the technology threshold. Do people give you technology? No nation parts give you technology. It's a difficult game. How do you catch up? So we do some reverse engineering as the Chinese did before us. And then somehow manage.
Let me quickly just take one more reaction from Maninder. Maninder, there is also a perception that the government, is not doing anything about the infrastructure of the country. There is less and less allocation. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's also been talked about, less allocation to infrastructure, reduced allocation to defense. But I'll say, look at it with a slightly different perspective. Like, we run companies, we do budgeting exercise every year, and we allocate funds to different heads in the organization. And when we review it end of the year in terms of how the investment, got the returns, and whether we were able to kind of make the best use of our available resources, we do those adjustments in the next budget cycle. I think look at it from that perspective. While in the previous budgets, the government had announced infrastructure allocations on the higher side, they were not able to do it. There was slow, induction of funds on the infrastructure. On the defense, while there's always been heavy investments and allocation of fund, a lot of it is reserves for contingencies. Now, with those, contexts and those backgrounds, if you reallocate some of these, still keeping your risk in check, reallocate into areas where it makes more sense as an investment and the long-term growth, I don't think it's a negative move. It's rather better utilization of resource. And I think that's been done really well.
All right, Maninder, appreciate those valuable inputs. Thank you so much for taking out the time and reflecting your thoughts on this budget. We'll take a short break, more on the other side. We'll be right back.